Tell us a little bit about how you knew this book needed to be written.
Yeah, we've seen all the fads come and go, whether it was, the grapefruit diet, the celery juice diet. We've seen, of course, with social media, as Wade alluded to, people attacking others, the carnivores making fun of the vegetarians attacking people that eat animals. It just goes on. And then people on YouTube doing reaction videos. And then you got fear mongers that tell you that this food's evil. And if you eat kale, you're going to have kidney stones. And if you eat plants, the plants are going to try to kill you. So there was just so much misinformation that we really felt we needed to write this book. And we started over 3 years ago. Literally took us over 3 years to write it. It took us about 6 months to just do the table of content. The table of content was 54 pages in a Google Doc, just because we wanted it to be as thorough as possible. And we actually cut out about 50% of the content from the book. So the book, the original draft, was about double that size. And we just kept editing and pulled out all the supplement information. And that's an additional bonus people can get when they buy the whole Ultimate Nutrition course. But yeah, it just felt like something we needed to do. And we felt uniquely qualified to do it. Maybe, Wade, you can talk about why that is.
Well, both Matt and I had a tremendous amount of success as personal trainers and, coached a lot of people ourselves and saw a lot of variants from virtually every age and situation. And we were both successful using very different dietary strategies. And what started out as arguments, what eventually came into discussions. And we realized, our number one passion is to help people. And as experts and advocates in the dietary industry, and I think all dietary experts have to take responsibility for what's happened to the population right now. The average person that diets, it gains back all the weight they lose in 3 to 5 years. The average person starts a diet, has done 6 different diets, eventually all to fail to this component. So in other words, 97% of people are going to succeed. And with social media, they largely fail because of the confusion, because of the diet fad, the charismatic individual that sounds so convincing, but they don't have the background, the information, or the time to thoroughly investigate the components that are individual to them. Also, the emergence of microbiome testing and genetic testing has allowed us to separate the wheat from the chaff. In other words, we can actually determine what everybody says. Well, everybody's different. Yeah, but how they're different is really important. Well, now we can use science to decode the differences for the individual that allows them to get over the generalizations and into the specifics with them. And it's not just the dietary components, because when you start looking at genetics and microbiome, as well as social, emotional, psychological tendencies, cultural, responsibilities or tendencies, then you start to realize why people fail, because almost no one is addressing those. And so Matt might want to walk us through the pyramid of nutritional decisions. We've created a bunch of frameworks inside of the book that allows a person to go through a process of how they would identify the areas that may be missing in their former diet strategies, integrate them so that they can be successful, not just in the short term, but in the long term, so where they can just set the diet and forget about it. They don't have to worry about it anymore. That's where we live. We enjoy it. We love it. And we want to share it with more people.
Yeah, we wanted to give people a framework so that they can literally create the perfect diet for themselves. We didn't want to tell people, here's what you should eat, which pretty much every diet book does. And of course, there's a ton of suggestions on the best probiotic rich food or the best plant-based food if you want proteins. All that's in the book. However, we wanted to give people really a system so that they can shape the ultimate diet for them. And it starts with spiritual and cultural considerations. And of course, not everyone needs to use that, but some people, like Muslims, do Ramadan. Some people consider cows a sacred animal. They don't want to eat those. Whatever people's spiritual beliefs are, we're not here to judge that, tell them that they're wrong. We're here to support them. Now, if that is not important to you, then you move on to the next layer, which is psychological and emotional needs. And we really believe that that's where so many diets fail. People just get on a diet. And of course, everyone knows you need to burn more calories than you consume if you want to lose weight. That's a scientific truth. But psychologically, that's where people go off course. If they have trauma, they use food as a drug and they stress eat. And on some level, we're all stress eaters. We really need to make sure that people process these negative emotions. And we have a whole chapter devoted to that. And then on the psychological motivational side, people need dopamine. They need a system, which we call dopamine loops, that propels them, that drives them, that motivates them constantly. And of course, there's a whole chapter on just the different types of, people respond to different types of discipline, or how they comply to their coaches. So all of these unique differences can make a massive difference on how you kind of structure your diet or how you get coached. Then we get into goals, and the book covers in depth the 5 epic goals, starting with weight loss. There's essentially an entire weight loss book in the book. Muscle building, which both Wade and I have been quite successful with. Athletic performance. I actually worked with a few pro athletes in my career. Cognitive performance, and then health and lifespan, meaning we want people to live long and strong. And depending on your goal, that completely shifts your diet, right? If your goal is to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. If your goal is to build muscle, you need to be in a calorie surplus, just to use those as examples. And after that, you get into calories and macros, which again are dictated by your goals. And most people in the diet world only really focus on calories and macros. And of course, that's critical. But again, we want to give people a holistic view of all the variables so that they're more successful over time. Then, as Wade alluded to, there's a new field called nutrigenomics. So you can do diet DNA tests and see unique differences between your genetics and my genetics and Wade's genetics. And you can start to tweak your diet accordingly. So again, I've been keto for a long time, and I'll give you a really big insight that's come relatively recently, which is I don't have great genetics for saturated fats. So what I've done, I'm still keto, but I've increased my olive oil intake and I've decreased my animal fat intake. Still eat steaks, don't worry, but I've adjusted that because of the nutrigenomic data. And Wade, maybe you can talk about a couple of your examples, because it just highlights that individuality that we talk about.
Yeah, when I did my genetic testing, I found out that I had suboptimal genes for cardiovascular health. In other words, that even if I followed a perfect, athletic diet with, typical macro distribution of animal proteins and fats and, moderate carbohydrates, the likelihood that I would have a cardiac event, my 70s or 80s, but that's a stroke or heart attack, is fairly high, even if I did everything right. So with that, and there's another piece that goes to that. I also have suboptimal genetics on food satiety. So left on my own accord, I will overeat, particularly if I don't have enough protein from a satiety factor. So when I switched into a plant-based diet, of course, the biggest objection to that diet is, where do you get your protein? So I had to supplement by creating a protein supplementation program that adds extra protein into my vegetarian diet. And then I had to add an essential fatty acid from a plant-based source to cover the animal fat sources that I wouldn't be getting. And that allows me to stabilize my blood sugar. And then also in the afternoon, I have a massive salad. And what that does is it creates the satiety that protein tends to do for a lot of people. Instead of using protein as a satiety factor, I use fiber. In fact, I have a lot of fiber. Some people call me the fiber king, because I have fiber with every meal in order to create that satiety feeling that I feel full. And with that, I've been able to be successful. In fact, when I had my HOMO-IR test, a blood sugar test and insulin response test, the naturopath doctor that gave me the test said, if I looked at this, I would think that you were on a ketogenic diet. Your blood sugar is so, the stabilization factor. So it was remarkable how you could take a high carbohydrate diet that's a plant-based diet, but have a really good profile if you're doing these adjuncts. And that's, one of the challenges that is projected, and rightly so, by a lot of advocates of other diets about the plant-based diet. If you're not doing those things, it's quite likely that people would fall into those traps. And so we help people avoid those traps with the diet that works for them. And then, of course, I think Matt will probably take the next step, where this is where the rubber hits the road for a lot of people, and that's where you get into the gut biome. We've actually created a complete suite of digestive health products that addresses the unique dietary needs of virtually all of the major diets. Matt, you want to add to what we've been doing there and the importance of the gut biome and all the genes that are present in the gut?
Yeah, Wade and I really found common ground on our diets by focusing on using different supplements to optimize our digestive capabilities. We built Mastizymes, which is still our second best-selling product, 2005. We've continued to improve it. We just released the latest version. It blows every other enzyme out of the water. And we know that because we have a lab and we test not just our products, but other people's. And as Wade said, we built a complete suite of digestive solutions, including different types of enzymes, including K-PAX, which is built for ketogenic diets, and then different types of probiotic blends, including things like microbiome breakthrough, which helps rebuild your intestinal tract. That actually builds biofilm, healthy biofilm. And then another product called P3OM, which is a protein digesting probiotic, which is extremely rare, survives all the stomach acids and just cleans house and kills a lot of the bad guys. So gut biome is a huge deal. And of course, a lot of people have leaky gut. And when you have leaky gut and you consume protein, the undigested protein can get into your bloodstream and create inflammatory responses. For a long time, a few years ago, I thought A1 protein, which is about 80% of the dairy protein out there, was evil because I would eat it and get an inflammatory response. What I didn't understand was I had leaky gut. So when I fixed my leaky gut, now I can have ice cream if I want and not have any inflammatory response. So the A1 protein wasn't the problem. It was my leaky gut. And the gut's incredibly dynamic. Like probiotics have about a 48-hour lifespan. So the good news is you can transform your gut health very quickly. And one of the recommendations in the book is that everybody should eat more fermented food. It's a really easy addition, whether you're adding sauerkraut to a salad or you're adding a bit of sauerkraut or natto to your keto, your steak meals, whatever it is. Eating more fermented food is a great health tip for everyone. And of course, using really good probiotics is another one. Then we have supplements. And of course, we are founders of a supplement company. And supplements do two major things. One, they help us eliminate deficiencies. And doing blood work or hair analysis is a great way to identify these deficiencies. And then you create a supplement strategy to fix those. So for an example, recently, I discovered I had bad genetics for selenium, bad genetics for zinc. And then I did a hair analysis test, and guess what? I'm deficient in both of those. So now I've adjusted my supplement program to help get me to the optimal zone. And we're big believers in you want to push your nutrients until you get to an optimal level. The RDA is like the basic minimal amount that you would need. Now, if you're working out, if you live in a hot climate like I do in Panama, if you do a lot of saunas, we all sweat a lot of minerals. So you need to replace those. And probably the mineral that people are the most deficient in or the furthest away from optimal is magnesium. Wade and I both burnt out in a big way due to magnesium deficiency. And when we started supplementing and loading our bodies up with magnesium, it was absolutely transformative. Within 7 weeks, we went from completely frazzled to just zen and relaxed. And our product Magnesium Breakthrough has been our best-selling product for the last few years. And just to wrap up the pyramid, then you have food allergies and sensitivities, which is a very unique personal thing. Some people can't eat nightshades. Some people get, again, immune responses to different types of foods. And the good news is there's a lot of good tests like Cyrex, which helps reveal whether or not you should avoid certain foods. And last but not least is really your lifestyle. You want to create a nutritional lifestyle that you enjoy. If you're a foodie like I am, and you like going to nice restaurants, you travel a lot, you like going to having new food experiences, then you want to build and optimize your nutritional strategy so that you can do that. So whatever it is, whatever your ultimate lifestyle is, you want to make sure that you tweak the variables so that it works and you don't feel deprived. No one will thrive long-term or survive long-term if they're feeling deprived for a long period of time.